I can engage you all in this particular talk. This talk is specifically related to this uh, uh, Atal FDP in a way, like there are a lot many sections related to the article discussion, and at the last date there is a section on journal reflection, right? So you all might be going through a lot many articles, at least two article, prominent article, and you guys are discussing on it in depth. So this particular section should be seen in a way like what are the different component in an article that has to be there, and while reading that article, what are the component that we should catch in one particular way. And another thing is that how to write an article so that it could be so that we can increase the probability of its acceptance in first place. And in the second thing is that how the article can be written so that the message behind it, so that the research contribution that we have put in or that we have arrived can easily be conveyed or communicated to the larger community in our research domain, right? So this is how I have completed. I have anticipated like my PhD or my research life will go like that, a flat straight line. I'll be getting admitted to my PhD, and after 3 or 4 years, I'll be getting awarded. So this is how I have anticipated my research career. But unfortunately, it went like this. A lot of puzzles, messy, and it's full of turns and twists. But at the end of my PhD, I could realize that this turns and twists helped me to learn many things, right? So I'm here to share those thoughts, those learning, those experiences that I gained over past few years in terms of scientific writings. What are the things has to be there in a scientific writing? And this all are going to be a purely my experience that I have gained over a period of time after having some successful publications, projects, and patents. At the same time, it contains the experts views, those who are the quite successful persons. Those articles are worldwide popular. So I have received their comments, their suggestions, their input, and incorporated in that so that a comprehensive understanding on how to write an acceptable research article. So all those things are put in together. So please let me know if you have any difficulties in your paper. You can share your thoughts. We all together will discuss and we'll see how we can make it you know acceptable one. Whatever research we have done, how to present it in a manner that it can be easily accepted in a reputed and peer-reviewed journal, right? So the research methodology that has to be revolved in Bloom's taxonomy. It is equally applicable for teaching learning process. At the same time, I believe that following this Bloom's taxonomy is very important for research as well, which starts from remembering. I mean, this is something what we start from literature survey, right? So this all step has to be kept in mind while doing a research, starting from remembering, understanding, and then applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Creating is something from where we are getting our actual outcome out of research. Though this is designed for a classroom, teaching learning process, but it is equally important for doing a meaningful research and getting a substantial outcome and presenting it in a way that can be understood by larger people, right? So it is very important to understand the purpose of technical writing. One of the purpose that we all know is that it will going to give a degree, maybe an MTech one or a PhD or several other things. This is one of the proof that we all know. But there are far, bigger and deeper aspect to it. One of it is that the purpose of scientific writing is to communicate new scientific ideas, concepts, and findings. This is the sole purpose of it. There are by purpose, or you can call it a byproduct of writing the paper, but the sole purpose has to be this to communicate the scientific idea, concepts, and finding that you have come across after spending years of hard work into a particular topic or in a particular uh, domain of your choice. The finding discovered in a research is a foundation. It is important to develop the ability to use those findings to advance the world's knowledge, right? It should not be like that. This is my research. I'm communicating it and I'm getting published. Yeah, but what is the meaning of that publication? The meaning of the publication should come in a manner that whatever you know um, um, knowledge or information which is already existing in the domain, You write your paper or your thought or your ideas or your finding in a way that it should add some value to the existing understanding. That some can be a very small one or it can be a big one. That's all a different thing. But the idea should be that your research should add some understanding to the existing knowledge which you all are accessing in terms of the literature survey, right? Another important thing is that information you discover in your research is the foundation, the first part of the task. What is more important is your ability to use that information to advance the world's knowledge, right? There are all there are a lot many information available in terms of the research article. We are reading those research articles. We are getting some ideas. We are developing our perception on that those particular ideas, and we are creating something different, something new, something better. I'm not sure. Sometimes it is not better, but we anticipate that it is going to be a better one. Right? So in that way, it should come in a manner. The important part is that it should come. It should present your understanding. It must present your perception that how you have seen the things. Lot many people, like, if I ask you all are seeing this particular presenter, you're having a different perspective, different angle to look at it. We all can't see the same thing. एक ही चीज को हम एक तरीके से नहीं देख सकते. We all are having a different perception on the same thing. It's very important, the uniqueness and novelty. So most of the time, we have been asked, what is the novelty? What is the uniqueness of your work? The first thing and the foremost thing that you all should keep in your mind, that the uniqueness and novelty lies in your perception. This is something what you have to be confident on, that the way I'm seeing it is something unique. It is something different. And you have to somehow, add that perception to your work. When you add your perception, you will start building and developing your own thoughts. And this is something what the research community of fraternity is required, and that is something what the reviewer or examiner is looking for in your paper. That what is your contribution in that. So your perception on particular subject matter is your contribution. One, not all contribution. One of the contribution is that, and that is one of the most important contribution is your perception. So it is very important while writing the paper or going through any of the research part. It is very important to establish yourself as an individual researcher, which is having an individual perception about seeing something, an individual way of looking at it, right? That is what you are actually going to contribute. So this is very important part, and this all combines together makes a good purpose for writing a research article. So if you talk about the layout of the research article, as we all belong to the research community, so we know. So this is something what which is obvious. A research paper should have a title, an abstract, an introduction section, technical content, result and discussion, acknowledgement, appendix, references, and these all should be supported at a relevant spaces or appropriate space with proper figures and tables. If you get all this content together and if you put in a proper order, your research article will get ready, right? So in the coming session, I'm going to discuss how to write this particular segments. This is something what we all know. A paper, there has to be a title, abstract, and these things. So how to write this thing individually? Everybody says that the literature review should have this particular thing, introduction should have particular thing, abstract should have particular thing. But nobody is going to, put you that how to write an abstract. If I take some example of, let's say you have to cook a dish, okay? Just to name it, let's say you all have to cook rajma rice kind of thing, right? So the first thing everybody is expecting is that it should be tasty, it should be delicious, right? Another part is that those who is going to cook that rajma rice, he should have a good understanding about the content. One place, that what are the content you have to put in. The second and for most important thing is this, the sequence of putting those content. You have to put all those ingredients in a particular order to get a delicious dish, be it a rajma rice or whatever you are going to cook. If you bring the similar analogy to writing a paper, you are having enough content. So having content itself is not complete. You must learn to put those content in a proper order so that whatever you are making should come out in a very uh, acceptable or attractive manner. So this is what we are going to have in all of this section one by one, right? So the first part is this. I'm eliminating this. We'll discuss on this one by one. The title. One of the best and most important part of any research article is the title. Title is something which is going to be read by thousands of people, and by reading your title, people decide whether they are going to read your paper or not. If if thousands of people is going to read your title, but hardly I believe that 10 or 20 people is going to read your article. So it is very important to give a very appropriate title to your article because it is going to invite or ignite the minds of people that whether they are going to read entire paper or not. So just by reading the title, the reader should get the entire information that what he or she is exactly going to have in that particular research article. If I combine with it is similar to naming a baby, right? In Indian culture, it is very popular that by knowing the names of the baby, we used to define the characteristics of the baby. Like this person is having particular name, so he might be having this kind of characteristics, right? He will be shy, will be bit humble, or ambitious kind of thing, because based on the astrological factor and so many other things. But there are people just by knowing your name, they can define your different characteristics. In a similar manner, if you come for the research article based on the different characteristics, outcome, findings, and and the technical analysis, we define or we give the title to the paper, right? So it is very important to have a very appropriate title. The title itself, I mean, one of the challenging tasks is that defining the entire paper in the fewer possible words. The real challenge lies here, right? So the title is extremely important and must be chosen with great care as it will be read by thousands where few will read the entire paper. Very true. Indexing and abstracting of the paper depends on the accuracy of the title, like how it is going to be indexed, how it is going to be abstract. Even if you simply, search a particular paper in a Google, then it depends how appropriately you have titled your paper. Based on that, it will get a preference in the appearance of the Google search. So I don't know much about the search engine algorithm and all, but it all depends about the words that you have put in your title. If it is matching with the author search, it will appear in the top order, right? And that way your paper will get more visibility. And another one is an improperly titled paper will get lost and will never be read, right? This is one of the reasons. Why is it so that some of the paper is receiving thousands of citation and some of the paper is not receiving a single citation at all? Though the research contribution in that particular paper itself is quite huge, but it is not being given proper citation because of the visibility. Somehow the title is not appropriately put in. So some of the title that I have taken from my domain, just out of this context to the FDP, you can see multi-level converter, a new breed of power converter, a single-phase 5-level inverter topology with switch fault tolerance capability, a multi-level inverter topology with reduced device count. If you see these titles, don't go for the content, don't go for the background of the research, forget everything. If you see, only fewer possible words have been selected to define the entire work. If I take the first one, multi-level converter, a new breed of power converter, this itself says that it is going to talk about a technology which is emerging, right? If you talk about the second one, a single phase 5-level inverter topology with switch fault tolerant capability, means there is some features in particular work which is going to be explained in this paper, right? So it is very important to have appropriate title with least possible words, right? So some of the do's and don'ts that one can have is this: title should neither be too short or too long as to be meaningless, right and appropriate. Now you can ask me how to write a title. The general practice that I follow, like, you have to do a lot many practice, right? Practice, 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 practice. Then only you will come to write a very precise and concise title. The best way to write a title is this: Write first title of your manuscript, and then you write at least 10 to 15 version of it. While writing the 10 to 15 version of it, and if you read all 15 version of it, eventually you will arrive to a title which will be perfectly defining your entire manuscript or characteristics or feature of the manuscript. So it is not like that in a single go you will write a perfect title. It is not going to happen. You have to at least write 10 to 15 version of that title. So this writing 10 to 15 version is something like which is putting us in a thought process where we are, thinking again and again and again, what is missing, what should I write. We are putting a different angle to it, that what could I put in so that I can come to a very precise and concise title, right? So writing a multiple title to the single work is very important, and combining those multiple titles in a different ways can bring to a perfect title to your manuscript, right? It should be meaningful and deep, not in general, because you are dealing with a very specific research domain. It should be concise, specific, and informative. The title never contains abbreviation, chemical formulas, proprietary names, or jargon. So these are certain things that you have to avoid while writing a title. Another important point while writing the title is that be very careful of the grammatical error due to faulty word order. It could be like, I want a glass of cold water. I want a glass of cold water. And I want a cold water. If you just change the word, I want a glass of cold water and I want a water of cold glass kind of thing. Just by changing or replacing both the term, here the meaning and everything is a bit clear to us, so we can differentiate easily. But when you write a scientific term, just by changing the place of word, it can create a devastating meaning to your title. So just be precise in putting the words in a particular order so that it should create a perfect meaning that is intended to come out. Whatever your understanding of reading that title, make sure everyone who is going to read that title should get the similar understanding and similar meaning to it. Right. So in that way, putting each of the words in proper order is very important. Coming to the abstract, I'll directly discuss this part. Like whenever it comes to the abstract, we get this kind of paragraph, a complete paragraph of 150 to 200 words or 200 to 300 words, right? And we read this. By reading the abstract, we get a glimpse. It is kind of trailer to a movie, right? Don't go for the content. Don't read the content. It is nothing related to this, right? So we get this kind of paragraph. It is very important to understand what are the ingredients required to make this abstract. As I give an example, to make a rajma rice, you need an ingredient at first place and then a sequence to put those ingredients. Right? So it is very important what are the ingredients which are essentially put in to write a abstract. So let me decode those ingredients. The first one is the objective or issues. Sometimes it is possible that many authors, yeah, again I'm repeating whatever I'm putting here, this is based on my experience and experience I've received from the experts. It might be possible that few people differ with this opinion, but this is something which is in general followed while writing the objective, right? So first sorry, abstract. So first part is this objective and issues. You have to write in first few lines means not more than 2 lines. You don't have much words to write in abstract, right? At max 200 or 250 words. Within that, you have to give a complete glimpse of the manuscript that you're going to write. So the first part that you write is this objective or issues that you are addressing in your manuscript, right? The second part is the investigations and contributions. You have highlighted the objective, you highlighted the issue, like, yeah, this is the issue. And now then you have to make within that issue what specific investigation you have carried out and what contribution you have made in that. Again, you have to write everything within 2 to 3 lines. You don't have much space here, right? So here you have to be very precise and clear. And that's why giving this clear thing is very important. The third part that you have to write is comparative analysis and advantages. After going through those investigations and the contribution, what is the benefit of your contribution? Does it make some sense? Is it superior than the existing work, or it is just like you did something and you're writing something which is not having any meaningful contribution? Then why people should accept that particular work? So it has to be superior in some sense to the existing research. So that you have to give in terms of the comparative analysis, that you have to write that you have carried out the comparative analysis, and in one line you have to write in what sense it is better, right? Another part could be the implementation methodology, like how you have implemented your particular thought or your idea or your concept. So what are the software you have used, what are the tools you have used in general, that you have to write it here, like how you have implemented or validated your concept. So this is four or five important ingredient that has to be there in any abstract. This is one sequence. You can little bit play with the sequence, right? Implementation methodology has to come at the end. Objective and issue has to be on the top. Whatever there in between, you can have tinkering in that. That is not an absolute restrictions that you have to go through this sequence only. But this is the most general and most accepted sequence. If you see, if you see the another example of the abstract, I have shown you two things, right? The first abstract, the ingredient that I'm putting here, this is for a research article. Usually we write two kind of article. One is a review article, another one is a research article. So this is for a research article where you are going to have some kind of contribution. Now this is an abstract for review article. The first one is again comes to be objective and issues, study and investigation. Like what particular study you are carrying out. Investigation you can eliminate or you can put. So first one that I have shown you for research article, the second one is for review article. And the contribution, what specific contribution you are going to made through that particular review article, right? And then implementation methodology, like what are the tools that you have used to review the particular domain, right? So in terms of the ingredient, if you see, it looks like similar to the research article, but altogether it carries the different information. That's what you all have to clearly understand, right? Tool implementation methodology can be different for the people, those who are doing a research in a different domain. For some people, implementation tool or methodology could be a kind of software. Within the software, it could be a specific package. The people those who are dealing with some experimental test bed, for them, it is very important to define the platform in which you're performing the experiment and different tools that you are using to implement your thought and idea, right? Right. So this is the objective for these are the different ingredients for writing abstract. Okay, is that clear to all of you? Now, the common mistake one can commit on writing abstracts are abstracts should be neither too short nor too long as to be meaningless. Too much background or description of the methodology. This is something what most of the time we make a mistake. We write a lot of background in abstract itself. If you write a lot of background in the abstract itself, what will you going to write in the introduction? So if writing a background in abstract is bit okay, but you have to write the background in one line only, at max two lines, not more than that, because you don't have much space in that, right? So best way is that eliminate the writing background in the abstract. Just write the abstract of your technical contribution that you have made in that research paper. Let it go. Let it create the first impression in the reader's mind, right? After reading your title of the manuscript, the reader or reviewer is going to read your abstract. By reading the abstract, the reviewer or reader will make the mind that what exactly he or she is going to read in the manuscript, right? Yeah, I mean, it creates a kind of impression whether what exactly, I mean, what kind of manuscript it is. So writing a very precise abstract is bit important. Other part is the figure and image should not be there in abstract at all. Giving citation, we don't give usually citation on the abstract, and use of abbreviation. We avoid abbreviation in abstract. In introduction, it is completely fine, right? So I hope it is now clear to you how to write an abstract. Previously, we were knowing that this is the way of writing abstract. Now we know the content ingredient. If you get the ingredient, somehow we'll put it. Rajma rice banana ingredient we have, we don't know the sequence. Put it, something you will get to eat at least. Some dish will come out, will not be very delicious, but at least in a At least it will come in a critical way, right? So now coming to the introduction part, um, let me explain the introduction part in that way. Usually, the research article that you read, you get an introduction like this, a page with couple of paragraph, right? Some of the papers, some of the manuscript, you will get a four paragraph. In some of the manuscript, you will get five paragraphs. But more or less, you get 4 to 5 paragraphs in each of the manuscript that you read. Okay, agree? So you have to understand that each of these, paragraph contain a very specific information. The biggest challenge in writing a research paper is to maintain the flow. Readers should feel like reading a novel, or readers should feel like that he is going through a kind of story. If you are failed to tell that story properly, it means, I mean, the chances of rejection will be very high. It is very important to tell the story in a sequential manner so that the what should I say? The readers should feel excited to read your paper, that what is going to come next kind of thing. The way we feel while watching the movie, not exactly the same feeling we get while reading the paper. It's a bit boring. We don't have any audio visual effect, so everything has to come out through text only. But we have get that experience by reading some good novel or by reading a book of good authors, right? It is not like that. Like creating that feeling is a bit difficult in through text. It is possible through text. It is an art how you're putting those texts so that you can create that feeling that people should go through that. You know, so the important part is the flow. Okay, so when you come to know that it is a flow that is going to create an impact, so it is very important how to create that flow. That introduction itself tells you about that flow. So what I was saying, the different paragraphs contain a very specific information. So if you talk about the first paragraph, in the first paragraph is about narrow background, advantage, and application. You can write about the background of the domain you are doing your research, or you're writing a research article. You can write few advantages about that background. What is the benefit of doing that particular thing? And you can write what are the applications of those technologies which are coming out in that particular domain, right? It's not essential that you must write background, advantage, or application. It depends on subject to subject and topic to topic. If you write all these three, it is very nice. Good. If not, then entire paragraph you can use in writing the background only. Forget about the advantage, forget about the application. Sometimes it is difficult to club all three together in a single paragraph. So if you cannot, just write about narrow background. Leave this two. Then it comes to the second paragraph. You have set the platform. Yeah, you are doing the research in the particular domain, within the particular domain, particular topic. Okay, so you have narrowed down yourself bit. You have come to the problem statement part, like the domain where you are doing the research. Now the second part that comes is what is the existing solutions and methodology that deals with that problem. It is very important. Please don't get confused. This is not a literature survey, right? This is like, what are the solutions available? What are the solutions already available and existing? It is very important. Why? Just to present the conventional solutions that are already existing, right? Now coming to the third paragraph, which is very important, is the literature review and problem identification. This is something what every reviewer is going to read. The reviewer might skip the background, reviewer might skip the existing solution, but the reviewer is surely going to read this literature review and problem identification. Why this literature review and problem identification is important? The research literature review is important because by doing a literature review, you have to identify the research gap. Making this statement is bit easy. By doing after doing the literature review, we have to identify the research gap. How to do the literature review itself is the biggest task. There are thousands of papers. Thousands of people are doing the research on a similar domain, on a same topic. We cannot read thousands of papers. And even by spending years together, we can read thousands of paper. It is not possible to cite all those 1,000 paper in a 5 to 6 pages paper. It is not possible. So here you have to be bit smart, clear in doing the literature review. So how to do the literature review? The easiest way, or a shortcut or trick you can call it, for doing a literature review is this. First of all, identify your work. Identify its advantage and disadvantages. Get the 20 paper which are superior than your work. Get the 20 papers which are inferior than your work. It might be possible that you may not get a literature or you may not get a research article which are superior than your work. Why? If already superior work is existing, why you will waste time in doing works which is something inferior, right? So first, the important part is this, like you have to place yourself in a position where you can identify the literature or manuscript which are somewhere similar, their approach is similar to your approach or your solution, or slightly inferior to your solution. Okay. So after doing a literature review, what you have to do, what you have to exactly tell or present in a research gap. You have to present, you have to explain in a research gap after going through the research. So and so title, so and so author had discussed or described about certain things. However, they missed particular part. What is that missed particular part? I'm telling you the trick. Please hear it carefully. What is that particular missed part? That particular missed part is what something what that you are doing research on. Infinite people are doing infinite thing in an infinite way, but it might be possible infinite things on a one particular subject matter. You cannot compile everything in a 2 or 3 paragraphs. So you have to identify the gaps or things that people have not done in their paper that you are going to do in your paper. So by in this way, you can clearly establish the problem identification, or you can clearly identify the research gap. It is very important to put the reviewer's brain that this is the gap. Though people are trying to solve this problem, but they have missed few things. 1, 2, 3, you can number it as many as you can. And then this is a research gap that people are not doing in this particular domain. Okay. So you have identified the gap. And based on the gap, you write a problem statement that in those particular domain, though the researchers have contributed so and so things, however, they have missed following things, right? And what they have missed that you have carried out. Now, the next paragraph, proposed solutions and contribution. So the literature review and problem identification, you have clearly identified the research gap and problem statement. Now, in this paragraph, you have to write that what is your approach to solve the research gap that you have identified after going through the literature review. Is it clear? Are you able to follow what I'm saying? Right? So here you have to write that the research gap or problem statement that you have setting, how you are solving those problem statement, and what is your solution to solve those problem statement, and by solving that problem statement, what is specific contributions you are making. Okay. So I'm telling you how to write your contribution. So already you have stated that so and so thing has been already missed. And in problem statement, you're writing the same thing in a way that you're going to put a contribution, or you have contributed in that particular way, that whatever is appearing in the research gap is now being fulfilled by my research. Yeah. So in this way, two things you are established. First thing is the author's contribution, that I'm making some contribution. The second challenge would be that what is the novelty in your contribution? So here most of the researcher struggles to make a sense in a way that is convincing to the examiner or a reviewer that my work is novel. Everybody cannot do a new thing on the same topic. So what could be the novelty? As I said in the beginning, you have to say that your perspective is novel. The way you have carried out the research is novel. The way you are developing a perception, and the way you are putting your perception is novel. Like somebody is seeing this webcam from this side, so this part is fine. Webcam का जो काम है, that is ये अपना वो काम कर रहा है, but अगर कोई इसे front से देख रहा है, I'm having altogether a different view of this webcam. In both the case, the objective and purpose and function and working is same, but somehow I'm having a different perspective. So whenever you have been asked a question that what is the novelty of your work, you have to put your perspective combined with the contribution. So perspective बोलने से नहीं होगा, you have to prove it ना. So your perspective combined with your contribution will come as the novelty of your work. Sometimes definitely you will get some genuine aspect, some genuine thing which you can definitely write as a novelty of the work. If you have, that's perfectly fine. But if you don't have anything novelty, or you don't know how to present the novel aspect of your work, in that thing you have to have lot many brainstorming to write your perception. Your perception is your novelty, and write it in a manner that it should appear as a novel perception. Right? That's the meaning of research. That's the meaning of the research in a different way. Right? And the last one is the organization of the manuscript, where we define that the particular section discuss about the technical content, result and discussion, contributions, um, references, acknowledgement, etc., etc., etc. So we all know how to write this organization of the manuscript. So this is the five essential ingredient of writing an introduction. If you know that this five ingredient is required, and if you put it in a sequential manner, you need not to bother about the flow of your manuscript. By default it will come in the flow. By doing so, what I'm trying to make here, what sense I wanted to make, I'm giving you a kind of form. Put the detail in those form. By default your introduction will get ready. You might have seen this introduction earlier as well, but I hope you have never seen this introduction in this particular way, that the first paragraph is containing this one, second paragraph is containing this one, third paragraph is containing this one, like that, right? Isn't it? So if you focus on this five to six particular thing, you will it will help you a lot to write your introduction, right? Now coming to the introduction of review paper. The previous introduction is for the research article, and this is for review article. So the first thing that you should know is the background of research, issues and challenges. The one of the important and one of the most burning question while writing a review paper is that what is the need of that review that you are doing. Already there are so many reviews available, far better than the kind of review that you are doing. What is the need of your review? So it is very important to establish that gap, that this review is needed. It requires. It is going to add some gap which is there in the existing review. So it is very important to identify those gaps here, challenges like research background of the research, issues and challenges, right? And then existing solution and methodology. So existing solution and methodology, review paper mein existing solution and methodology kya hota hai? You have to say that in which way you are carrying out your review. What are the existing reviews are there? You have to define that the so and so review is going, are already there, deals with a particular thing. So and so review deals with particular thing. So and so review deals with the particular thing. However, none of the review is talking about this particular thing, and that particular thing is something what you are going to do the review. That is what here you have to write. It helps you to set the platform for the reader on what particular topic you have done your review, right? Now the present status and the future trend. It is very important to write for a review paper. What is the existing and what is the trend? And after that, literature review and problem identification. Here again, it is coming the same. For research article and for review article, both is coming same. Again, here you have to emphasize that why this review paper is required. So based on the literature, you have to identify the gap where you can justify the need for this review that you are doing. And again, you have to write what are the contributions and specific thing you have made in your review. Like after going through a reader, after going through your review, what he will get. आपके review paper को पढ़ के उसे ऐसा क्या मिलेगा? What specific piece of knowledge, specific state of art in the domain he or she will get after reading your review paper? That thing you have to mention here in a proposed solution, right? And again, the last one is the organization of the manuscript. That what are the things have been defined in the different section. So this is how we write an introduction. This is how we write an introduction in a research article. Some of the common mistakes that we can have is the too much or too less information about background, unclear purpose, Since we have seen introduction है, ऐसा लिखते हैं, we are also writing introduction. Introduction is ready. Reader is not getting anything that what you have written in the introduction. आपका approach क्या है? We don't know. We have written one paragraph about the background, and similar thing is getting repeated in multiple paragraphs. Most of the time it happens. We have, since our mind everything is clear. So whatever we have written now, we are having altogether a different interpretation to that particular thing that we have written. But the moment the same content is going to be read by different people, those who are not having enough background about that, he or she will have altogether a different meaning and understanding about the introduction, right? So it is very important to write it properly, and it should convey the purpose of your writing, right? Confusing structure and ambiguous statement or sentences, it should not be there. So for that, the trick is that write small statement. I usually encourage and request my scholar to write a small statement. The way we teach the kindergarten, class 1, class 2 student, na, like uh, I go to market, I buy apple, I come back home, I cut apple, I eat apple. सब कुछ समझ में आता है. But हमें लगता है now we are a researcher, we write everything in a single statement. The moment we write a multiple objective or multiple statement in a single thing, or multiple activity in a single thing, it is certainly going to create a bit confusion and ambiguity in the reader's mind. So the best part of writing is that write as small as possible statement. जितना छोटा statement, उतना ज्यादा clarity आएगी आपके technical writing में. Never write statement more than 2 lines. I'm talking about in a single column article, a double column article. 2 लाइन से बड़ा स्टेटमेंट नहीं होना चाहिए. 2 लाइन से बड़ा आपका स्टेटमेंट जितना बड़ा होते जाएगा, you can take it for granted कि उतना confusion वो create करता जाएगा. अगर 4 लाइन के स्टेटमेंट है, मान लो कि वो एक बार में पढ़ के उसका नहीं क्लियर होने वाला है. बट अगर आप उस एक स्टेटमेंट जो 4 लाइन का हो रहा है, somehow you are able to break it into 2 or 3 statement. Trust me, in a single read, the reader will get the meaning as intended, right? Lengthy or unfocused literature review that you have, since you have seen a literature review, you are doing a literature review. So and so work is done in that paper. So and so work has done in that paper. So and so work has done in that paper. But you are not able to connect them. रीडर को समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है कि आपने लिटरेचर रिव्यू इतना सारा किया, उस लिटरेचर रिव्यू का I mean, what exactly you are going to do with that? You fail to connect all those literature reviews that you have put in the literature review section. So it is very important to have a selective or concise selection of the articles, and whatever literature review or whatever paper that you have cited in a literature, it should connect. It should connect. A summary has to be there at the end of the literature review that should combine all the literature that you have put in your literature review, right? The next part is the technical content, one of the easiest section to write, since we all are expert of those, but that particular section we have done that work, we have written the algorithm, codes, or theory or concept. So this is one of the easiest part to write. One of the toughest is title, another toughest is the abstract, another toughest is the introduction. Writing technical content is bit easy. You can easily write that technical content, right? You know about it. आपने पढ़ा है, आपने सीखा है, और आपको पता है. It contains lot many diagrams, lot many figures, mathematical formula. The sole thing that you have to keep in your mind while writing the technical content is this: it should have proper order. It should come in a sequential manner. You have to identify that there will be there will be several sections. There has to be several subsections. It should be in a very sequential manner, so that the reader should connect before and after paragraph or a section, right? It should not be like you have written one section, all of sudden then another section came and it deals or it talks about different aspect that is not connecting with the previous section, neither the next section. So it should not happen. The technical content has to be written in a manner that each of the section and subsection should connect to the before and after section, which is written in your main body of the paper. So some of the good part that you can take it here is this: describes the experimental design and procedure in detail. This part of the manuscript must be technically rich and precise so that it can be reproducible. Just by going through your technical section, anyone and everyone should be able to reproduce. Not many people do cheating. They put things in a way that nobody can reproduce it. No, it should not be. Let people reproduce. The more and more people will be reproduced, the more better impact your research will create on the community. जितना ज्यादा रिप्रोडक्शन होगा उतना ज्यादा लोग उसको समझेंगे, उतना ज्यादा आपके पेपर को विजिबिलिटी मिलेगी, right? If the method is new, all details must be provided. If the method has been previously published in a scientific journal, only the reference should be given with some identification. Very important part. Very important part. Most of the time, what happens is that we have read about some concept in some paper. We are repeating similar thing in our paper in different ways. It should not happen. You just cite that paper that so and so theory is discussed in this, and just carry forward from there. You need not to write a big paper. Paper again, I am mentioning the paper has to be very crisp. जितने required है, you write that much content only. Sorry. The questions such as how much must be answered and not left to puzzled over. Right? You have to be very specific in selection of the word, selection of the statement. Method used for statistical analysis must be mentioned. Ordinary one without comments, but advanced or unusual one require literature citation. Give the proper and appropriate citation. Introduction has to be full of citation. Technical content, cite the work whenever and wherever is required. Usually it has a less citation part because here some of the portion is your interpretation, some of the portion is your thoughts, some of the portion you are calling from existing literature. Common mistake that we do in writing technical contents are not presenting in-depth description of the methodology. It should not be there. Whatever method, concepts, and idea you are putting in, this is the main section of your manuscript. You should have complete detail of the subject matter that you are writing in. Repetition of introduction information. Whatever background that we have written in introduction, sometimes there are lot many redundancy on the similar thing. As I mentioned previously, we write same thing in a different manner at a different section. Whatever new section we write from background itself. No, you have to put the background once only in introduction and then leave it. Don't call it in each and every section. So you have to be very careful that there should not be redundancy of the statement, redundancy of the background of the domain in which you are researching, right? Verbatim means you have read something interesting, you're writing it in your own words and you're not citing it verbatim. Not required. Just take it as it is, give it a proper punctuation and quotation and cite it. That's all. Why you're putting so much effort in writing your own words? You're afraid like you will be blamed for plagiarism. As long as you're giving proper citation, you won't be blamed for plagiarism, right? In the last, I'll be giving 5 to 10 minutes on the plagiarism. Lack of technical representation of the content, deviating from the objective, missing of proper flow, which is very important. Should not deviate from objective and while keeping the proper flow. Recently, I have reviewed a PhD thesis, and I was very surprised to evaluate the PhD thesis. Whatever objective that they have set in the first chapter, research objective, none of them have been executed. None of the objective have been met in the entire thesis. They have done altogether a different scope in their work, and the objective is altogether talking about the different aspect. I couldn't understand how to evaluate that thesis. Objective is something else, and research, whatever research that they have carried out, is something else. When we are doing research, it is quite obvious that we fail to miss those things. That this is my objective. It is like most of the time we fail to understand the problem properly. Our struggle is not much on finding the solution. Our struggle has to be much on having a clear understanding of the problem statement or clear understanding of the objective. If you have understood your objective clearly, if you have understood your problem statement clearly, it is very easy to devise the solution. We puzzle and we confuse when we don't have a proper understanding of the problem statement or the objective that we have set in, right? And again, the flow has to go together. It has to be connected. It is kind of puzzle. If you connect in a proper manner and a sequence, it will come out with a beautiful pattern. But आप connect हो रहा है करके कुछ भी कहीं में randomly connect कर लेंगे, though it will get connected. ऐसा नहीं है नहीं connect होगा, but it won't create a beautiful pattern the way intended from that particular puzzle, right? So the result and discussion, I'll show some image. Don't go for the content of the image. Just see the image. In a result, whatever you are showing, it has to be very clean in fasting and clear, right? You can see here the first part is a simulation result and the second part is the experimental result. It is said that one image is far better than thousands of words. What I'm trying to communicate through this result, the objective that I'm trying to, uh, um, communicate is that whatever result I have obtained from simulation, the similar result I have obtained from the experimental validation. And if you match both the result, more or less, you will get similar thing. The experimental is having some kind of, spike and glitch kind of thing, which is bit obvious when you deal with the non-ideal things. This comes right. So if you see the axis, if you see the marking, and if you see the everything, it is bit clear and clean. So whatever result you are getting, just make sure your presentation makes sense. The axis should be properly written. The result that you have obtained has to be very clean and clear so that the reader immediately get what you wanted to show in your result. And the interpretation of the results, right? We don't do here interpretation of the result. Usually we avoid the interpretation of the result. In whatever form we have received the result, we have to put in directly. But you can do some kind of editing in that so that you can convey different events that are taking place in the results. Like in that particular part, if you see something is happening in between which is disturbing, not the regular one, so that representing a kind of event. So you have to highlight them, you have to define them. Whatever doing here, you can later on describe it in the text, that what is this particular part, what is that particular part. Again, clarity is very important in your result, right? Oh my god. Similarly, this thing, let me skip it. Common mistake is the raw data redundancy. Similar result we are presenting in a different way. Discussion and interpretation of the data. Usually, it is like some people give result and discussion section together, and some people give results separately, discussion separately. In result, they purely talk about the result. In discussion, they give their interpretation on the result. They don't give their interpretation on the result section. They give their interpretation on result in a discussion section. That in what way it is better. Or when they do a comparative analysis in there, they give that particular interpretation on the particular results, right? Our discussion part, it is the hardest section to write because this is something what which is going to convince the reviewer or reader that whatever I have taken, how it is better than the existing one. So it should come with lot many comparative results. One of the comparative results that you can show is this in a way. You have carried out lot many research. You are writing some big line and many things. The best way to give in a discussion is the comparative analysis. There has to be a comparative analysis because if you're giving a comparative analysis, the chances of acceptance is very high. Like how your paper is better than the existing or other work. So for that, you have to make a comparative analysis. While making a comparative analysis, it is very important to see the different, uh, characteristics and the parameter. The more characteristics, more number of parameter you will put in, the better comprehension you can bring out. And just by seeing this table itself, it is bit easy to convey that whatever work you have done is superior in some sense to the existing work. So just try to have a comparative analysis in your discussion part. It is more convincing and it creates more probability of acceptance of your manuscript, right? I'll not discuss this content. Let me show you figures and table. Yeah. It is very important to have a table and figures in your manuscript. Yeah. Now the question comes how to make a table and how to make a figure. My approach is that whatever information I get it, rather than putting it in terms of the words, I try to make a table. I try to make a table. And making a table, like when you write it in a words, now there is probability that it may come with a प्लेगरिज्म काइंड ऑफ थिंग सिमिलर सिमिलर चीज आ रहा है सेल्फ प्लेगरिज्म है या दूसरे के कंटेंट से प्लेगरिज्म आ रहा है बट अगर उन इंफॉर्मेशन को आप टेबल के फॉर्म में रिप्रेजेंट करें you have gone through lot many plagiarism report, right? Most of the reports or most of those plagiarism similarity index are coming in terms of the words only. Not in terms of the table or image. Table or image पे कभी कोई plagiarism नहीं आता है. Just because वो उनके software में नहीं है, बाद में वो आ जाएगा. That is a different thing. But making a table and image is very important part. It all deals with your imagination. How better you are able to, conceive things, and how better you are able to interpret it and present it in form of table and image. One single table can help you to accept your paper, get accept your paper. One single image can help you to get accept your paper. I have many such experiences in my research career. But that single table and that single image has to be very comprehensive. That itself should give all the detail and information which is required. If you just see this paper dealing with the electric vehicle, three different technology, three components are required for electric vehicle: electric motor, power electronics converter, electric propulsion system. And these three things has been analyzed in terms of the power density, for efficiency or cost for three different or four different years, how they are changing. So this table itself presents a lot of comprehension, right? Just by seeing this table, one can get the entire image of the domain, like what exactly is going to happen from 2020 to 2010 to 2020. 10 साल में उस domain में क्या होने वाला है? Single table itself is giving. If I see the comparison of ICE engine vehicle, electric vehicle or different electric vehicle, the single table itself gives the entire detail. It is not like that this table is already available in the literature. This is something what is taken from the literature itself. But it is not available in the literature in this particular manner. It has been conceived in a way and it has been put like that. So this is something what as a researcher we all should do. जो perception की मैं बात कर रहा था कि we should have a different perception in presenting and putting the data in something unique and novel manner. For me, it is novelty. ऐसा कुछ एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता था लिटरेचर में जब ये पेपर पब्लिश हुआ है. And after that, lot many papers are there which are giving the table in this particular fashion. So this is something what my contribution to my research domain. If you work in this particular spirit and if you think more and more, certainly you will get lot many things. Similarly, if you talk about the image, see the image, the clarity of the image, each and everything is very clear. You have to learn. There are lot many tools available where you can make each and every diagram that you have in your mind. You won't believe this is something what I have made it. A single tire took me 3 days to make it. 3 दिन लगे just to make this tire only. And after this, everything become bit easy. But this tire itself is, very impactfully made and it is conveying all the information that I wanted to. Madam, 5 minutes में? ठीक, thank you. I exceed the time. Yeah, I got it. This is another figure and table. So whatever you are seeing here, na, different component and everything. Battery is there, power converter and electric motor and the controller, right? This is the actual image of an electric or hybrid electric vehicle that you are seeing in the road, schematic one. If you ask me to put the technology behind it, I have put it in the form of figure. The four component associated technology. I can write it in terms of the words in big paragraphs. But the kind of impact that this image is creating, I don't think that paragraph is going to create. So the bottom line of saying this or showing this is this: try to learn to make an impactful table and image. You can follow the literature, you can get the idea, put your thought, put your innovative skill, whatever you have, at whatever level, at whatever degree, and try to bring something new. The requirement is this: the figure and the table has to be very clean and clear in presentation and has to be very comprehensive. लगना चाहिए, comprehension दिखना चाहिए. There has to be comprehension in the table, there has to be comprehension in the figure. Then only it will create a huge impact in the minds of the readers or reviewer or examiner, whatever he or she is there, right? So that's all. In conclusion, outcome of the research should be discussed, benefits and shortcoming of the proposed work, repetition of abstract in some way is possible. This is what I wanted to discuss with all of you. Conclusion is another form of abstract. In the beginning, when we write now, we're a bit puzzled what to write in a conclusion. Similar thing we have already written in the abstract. We expanded the abstract in the introduction, and again we are writing a conclusion in a bit similar manner. अगर आप पूरे कंटेंट को हटाएं, आप अपना abstract पढ़ें और आप अपना conclusion पढ़ें, you will find it is bit same, bit similar, just with a different word order. That's all. The message and meaning are same, right? So it is very important to understand In a conclusion, you have to write about your outcome, what exactly you are contributing by that research. You have done some research, you have got outcome, result है कुछ है. You have to write about those results. ये हुआ नहीं. I mean, that result, you have to write about the outcome of that result, how it is going to contribute, how it has been executed, and how superior it is. Right? That thing has to be written on the conclusion. You have to summarize the entire work. अब entire work में you cannot summarize the background, you cannot summarize the description. So what is you're going to summarize? You have to summarize your technical content and result and discussion section. These two segments has to be summarized in the conclusion. Abstract and introduction is already written. So when you summarize those particular part here, you come out with a good conclusion. It might be possible you can write a little bit about the future scope. It is also good that you can write some disadvantages about your work. It is not necessary that all the time you praise your work and all the time you put the good part that you have done. It is bit appreciated when you write something, some shortcoming about your work. It is good. It is good. ऐसा नहीं कि हमने जो किया वो ब्रह्मा है, सब सही है, सब correct है. No, it is not possible. There are some shortcomings. You can write it. The way it is taken that you are leaving a space for the readers that they can do their research in that particular shortcomings. In that way, you are creating an opportunity. It can be taken in that particular way, right? So in that way, you should write your summary. The summary of theoretical implications and possible practical application of the proposed work. That's what I think. The technical content, result, and discussion part has to be summarized here in conclusion. Yeah, so you can acknowledge the respective thing. That's all from my side. Reference. I request all of you to learn Mendeley. Bit easy to manage your references. One of the most efficient and smart tool that I came across. Bit easy. Every time I was not aware about it. I was just puzzled how to manage the reference. After each and every review, I have to do everything manually. It's frustrating, but Mendeley is fantastic tool. You all must learn it how to manage your references. Yeah, so there are a lot many things in publication, out of which plagiarism is most important. I just define the plagiarism. What is plagiarism? Plagiarism is giving credit where credit is due, not giving the credit where credit is due. You read literature, take the content out whatever way you want, but don't forget to cite it. Don't do paraphrasing, don't do verbatim. कोई issue नहीं है, आप दूसरे के content ले सकते हैं. It's not an issue. Plagiarism is that when you are taking others' content and you are portraying and presenting it as if it is your content or as if that content belongs to you. This is plagiarism. Try to understand it clearly. किसी ने आपको नहीं बोला कि आप दूसरे की कंटेंट अपने पेपर में ना दो but cite it properly. Don't claim that those content belongs to you. अभी claim कैसा होता है? हमने तो claim नहीं किया, अभी कैसे claim हो गया? It happens when you are not citing it. You are not giving proper credit where it is due. It is understood that you are claiming that particular content as if it belongs to you, and that is there we call it plagiarism. So it is very important to have very appropriate citation. अगर आपने गलत citation भी दे दिया, again it is a plagiarism. आपने किसी और के काम को किसी और का काम बता रहे हैं, आप अपने आप को चोरी के आरोप से बचा के आप किसी दूसरे को क्लिक करें. This is not good. So there are a lot many aspects to plagiarism. Yeah, duplication, secondary source of plagiarism, replication, and invalid citation plagiarism. The important part is that yeah, types of the plagiarism intentional होते हैं और कुछ non intentional होते हैं. Intentional हमें पता है, non intentional में carefully paraphrasing and summarizing, lack of common knowledge, recycling an old paper, failure to use your voice. This all comes under the unintentional plagiarism. And we have lot many excuses for that plagiarism, right? And the most important excuse that we give is the deadline. The deadline is nothing but a poor management of the document and time. If you have poorly managed all those things, that's why you are afraid of the deadline. But you have done things properly, you need not to worry about the deadline. You can execute everything properly. This is something what most of the time we give. सब टाइम नहीं था, डेडलाइन था, इसलिए मैं घर को आके भेज दिया. ठीक है, डेडलाइन था, बट हमें you made a mistake, and that mistake is the eternal mistake. You cannot edit it, you cannot correct it once it is got accepted. Just be careful about it. So another important point, and with this I'll summarize this session, is this: what not to be cited. Is it important to cite each and everything just to avoid plagiarism? No, there are certain things that need not to be cited. And those things are the facts that are widely known. Information or judgment considered common knowledge, you need not to cite. In your domain, there are something well known to everyone. You need not to cite the inventor. It's a patent है 20 साल बाद patent भी open हो जाता है. You can use that patent in a similar manner. Common knowledge needs not to be cited. You are discussing your own experience, observation, or reactions. You need not to cite it. Compiling the results of original research from science experiment. You need not to cite it. So these are certain things that you need not to cite it on. That's all from my side. I'll not talk about how to avoid plagiarism. Later slide we can see. That's all. Yeah. This is the process. I made it for the PhD scholar and the MPhD student. Will not discuss them. That's all from my side. Thank you so much uh, for giving your valuable time attending this session, bearing with me. Thank you all. Thank you so much. If any one of you are having question, you can simply ask those who are attending online, or you can just put your query in chat box. I'll take it from there. And if you all have any question, just feel free to ask. And if you are struggling with something to write your paper or to get your paper accepted, you can ask. Feel free. Nothing else? Fine. Thank you so much. Yeah, please.
So, we are putting a good content, like we are preparing a review article, and we want it to be published on SCI journal. So, is it okay to go for SCI journal for a review? The content is right, and that done work done, and we have read a lot and written everything right.
Then you must go for SCI.
So, is it okay?
See, we have to understand this importance of indexing. Why we are having an index journal and not non-index journal. Non-index journal means the content that you are getting from non-index journal or paper which are published in a non-index journal is not reliable. If you are reading a paper from index journal, it is understood that the paper has gone through the peer-reviewed process, properly reviewed, and the data or information that you are getting from that paper are reliable, well validated. So if you are publishing your paper in SCI journal, the better impact factor it is have that journal has, the more trust you can put on that particular paper coming from that journal. So it is kind of prestige and reputation to publish in SCI journal.
My question is how much is it important for us to prepare a review article? Can we invest some time in preparing a review article? Should we go for directly an SCI journal?
Review is very important. You are writing review article is very important. I know if I share my experience, the first year my supervisor asked me to write a review article. I started doing review. In my review, it was nothing but just a collection of the information only. There is no contribution at all. I was very frustrated. There are so many beautiful review already been made, already been done. And what contribution my review is going to create in the society? Already good review paper is there. So I was not understanding it, like how to make it. But I was kept on reviewing. My review paper got published when I was about to submit my thesis. I started on writing my review paper first year, but it got accepted in final year. Until that journey, I had many things in my mind. At that time, I was not knowing. At that time, I just created a good. It is good compilation of the content or information. But later on, when I went on paper aspect of the domain, I could realize that what is missing, that the that is not there in existing review. And then I have revised entire content to cater that gap through my review. So the objective is not that like you should write a review paper or not. The objective is that what contribution you are going to make through that paper. If your focus is on contribution, like you have written a review paper, you just need to analyze it whether the paper is going to contribute something or not to the reader. Why reader should read your paper when he is already having a good review of some eminent personality? So whatever is written by eminent personality, it might be possible that you have missed something that you are putting in through your research paper. So in that motivation, you can certainly write. I understand this problem in early time, during the starting time. It is very hard to write a good review paper. For writing a review paper is for experienced person. Our supervisor asks us to write a review paper so that we should be well informed about the domain. We should be well informed about all aspects of the research that we are doing in particular domain. That's why our supervisor used to ask us to write a review. His intention is not that you write a review paper that should get accepted to the essay. The intention behind is that you should get aware about the domain, get the clarity about the domain, so that you can bring a good piece of work to your research. The publication of that content depends. If you publish it later, you will publish good content. Specific, it is. I'm saying this is specific to review article. Yes. Any other question? Yeah, that's all. Thank you so much.